Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us. This is Ben and Lucas from Crosshairs Marketing. And we just wanted to kind of share a little bit of a recap from the Texas Leaders Forum that we attended a couple weeks ago as an episode for one more round. We'll pivot into some cool conversations that'll be coming at you over the next few months. But for now, we just wanted to kind of recap through what an amazing event we experienced and so many other agents experienced, and just share some of that great info with you.
Yeah, what an awesome event. There's so much to talk about. We're kind of trying to just think about all the great topics and things, but just to start off, I want to talk about the venue and where it was. If you weren't there, it was in Arlington, Texas at the Live by Lowe's Hotel, which is right next to the Dallas Cowboys Stadium. Just a great venue for this event. There's a lot of things we can talk about as far as just the venue itself. I've been to a lot of these over the years. I think you and I combined have been to many of these agent events,
For sure.
whether they were put on by corporate or if they were put on by other agents. And I just can't say enough about this one.
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't been, it's just an amazing event.
For sure. I think that's one of the cool key pieces that makes this event great too, is there's great events all throughout the year, don't get me wrong, put on by different companies or by our company as a whole. But this is truly like by agents for agents, right? It's not like they're not selling anything. There's no agenda except for to bring agents together to share, right?
Yep.
And it's such a cool format.
Yeah, I mean, the hotel itself, in addition to just kind of the format, I mean, it just was so conducive to the group. The meeting space was really great. I thought that the vendor space just created engaging conversations.
Mm-hmm.
I think there was just a lot of neat stuff. The outdoor areas where you could hang out, the hotel bar, where of course everybody ends up at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. Just great conversations, great content throughout the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a cool setting. So if you guys aren't familiar with the area, Arlington, Texas, it's like right between Dallas and Fort Worth. Like Lucas had mentioned, it's right by the Cowboys football stadium. There's the Live by Lowe's and then the regular Lowe's Hotel. There's Texas Live, which is a bunch of restaurants and bars. And then there's Globe Life Field, which is the Rangers baseball stadium. And it's truly all like, I don't know, a 90-second walk from like the hotel to the baseball stadium to Live or Texas Live. Like, it's just like you show up and you don't have to leave for 2-3 days. And there's great restaurants, there's great bars, there's just fun entertainment.
Yep.
It's a great place to be.
Yeah, I felt like when you walked out to go to the baseball game, it was part of the hotel.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how close it was.
Yep.
The first night we got there, we went in and we just started setting up, and then as the welcome reception started, that was probably one of the best parts of the whole meeting.
It was.
We didn't expect that. We thought we might get some pool time, and then we realized that they were setting up a bar, and everybody who came and checked in just hung out.
Yeah.
And so some of the best conversations I had were that first night.
Yep. And I think it's a good time to just kind of pause and say thank you to Mike Daniels, to Laura Harris, to Kristen Maxwell, and to Julie Alvarenga, the hosts that put the event on. Like Lucas mentioned earlier, they're like and I don't even know if there's thought that goes into it of how you set up and design the layout of like the vendor area. But as our second event, I feel like this was it was just the conversations, the energy, the flow of people coming to have conversations with you, I thought was fantastic. And like Lucas mentioned, we didn't expect it to like the registration to like be an event. Most events, I think it's just kind of a rolling registration where as you show up throughout the evening, like go get your name tag and check in. But yeah, they turned it into an event. Like they had 2 different open bars. They had music going. Most of the vendors were there for that registration window, and it really might have been the best 2-3 hours of conversations that we had with people. It was so cool.
Yeah. If you're planning to go at some point in the future, plan on being there Friday night. During the week or
Wednesday night.
Wednesday night.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Friday night too. I'll share something about that in a bit.
But if you get there the day that it starts, which is Wednesday,
Yeah.
being prepared to spend some time there, it was great. I think during the meetings itself on Thursday and Friday, right, we're only able to talk with other vendors and other things during the breaks. And it's pretty rushed, but that felt really, really relaxed.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, it was cool. And then like that first evening, and shout out to Justin Slocum, who joined us on One More Round. What was that, 2 months ago?
yeah,
He was there as a vendor with both of his companies, Agency for Sale, and Insurance Teamwork Services. And he set up, I don't know if he rented like a whole box or a couple boxes. I think it was like 150 seats, maybe, like spots for agents that wanted to come over to the game, because thankfully the Rangers were playing Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night, like every night of the event.
Mhm.
And so at post registration, which I don't think I showed up until like the 5th inning,
Yeah.
because the registration was so good.
right.
Like it was just, yeah, it was. But all that to say, like it's cool. Like there's opportunities to just connect with agents far more than just in the meeting room, right? Like, which I
Mhm.
think is what makes that event so special.
Yeah, we were able to. We weren't in the box, but we could have went.
Yeah,
If you wanted to go, Justin had tickets,
yeah,
and we ended up sitting with some other agents from around the country that we knew. And
yep. Which we had set up in advance. Had we known that there was a massive group going to the box together, we might have done that different. But yeah, it was still, everyone kind of had the same thought.
yeah, that was awesome. Yeah, shout out to Justin for sure on that. The evenings were great. I mean, just we did that the first evening, which was Wednesday. Just going to the game and just hanging out. After the game, we sat out. When you're sitting in under the hotel, there's a great outdoor space, and it looks right out at the stadium, the Cowboys stadium. So you've got the Ranger Stadium on one side, the Cowboy Stadium is just right out in front, and it's kind of just picture framed in the, where you sit in the
Yeah.
bar. So that was cool. And then the second night, shout out to Jeremy Olson and RPOA.
Mm-hmm.
They put on a cocktail party out on that same kind of lawn area.
Yep.
Right after the meeting, and everybody hung out for a long time.
Yep.
They had music and
Yep. Live music and the bar and
open bar. It was great.
sun. I mean, I don't, maybe they planned this, maybe they didn't, but the sunset, like right next to the football stadium. So you just had a sunset view, hanging out on the lawn, perfect weather, drinks, live music. And I mean, truly, I don't know, 300 agents all hanging out and just connecting.
Yep. Yeah, that was pretty cool. And then everybody kind of split up and went to dinner and did their things. And we went to dinner with some other agents and and then ended up back at the hotel bar, which I think that happens every night.
It does.
Yep. And then I guess it would have been Thursday night.
Yeah, after the first full day of the event.
Yep. So I guess the first day was Tuesday.
Thursday, Wednesday night registration. Thursday was day one of the event.
And then is that the night that we did the PBR?
Yep.
Yep. So we did the role play on the lawn, and then we went out to dinner, and then EverQuote rented out the PBR bar, which PBR is professional bull riding bar.
Mm-hmm.
And so they rented that out. They've done that a couple years in a row that I know
Yeah.
for sure.
Yep.
And so everybody just kind of finished dinner and then went there, and we stayed there till they turned the lights on.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it's cool. It's like they do such a good job of just like of keeping everybody together, because it's, there's so much, and we weren't in the meeting room for most of the, the speakers, as Crosshairs was a vendor down there. But you gain so much information. But then I think, then when you leave the meeting rooms, then that's when like the wheels start turning of like, okay, what do I do with this? How do I implement? What are the best things that I need to take away? And I think that's where, like, by them creating events that keep all the agents together throughout the evening after the meetings are over.
Mhm.
It just allows you to stay engaged and to like bounce ideas off of each other. Be able to kind of pick brains of the agents that are down there with you, and just really keep connecting to keep growing.
Yep.
Yeah, they do a good job of it.
Yeah, I think it was, and that's kind of one of the reasons I think it was such a great event. Um, you know, I've been to a million of the Vegas events and different things, and there's so much to do, and so everybody scatters.
Yeah.
This was, I had some conversations with, you know, team members from agencies around the country, people who had brought their producers or their staff, and just got to visit with them. And it's just refreshing to
Hmm.
hear what people are doing. As agency owners ourselves, we both were feeling like we wished we were in the meeting
For
room.
sure.
Um, so to get a chance after to be so close, and just to get to say, well, what was your favorite part of the day? What'd you like the most? Um, we got the Cliff Notes version,
Yep.
but it was exciting. Everybody was excited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. And it's so good to be in one space with everyone who's, like you said, everyone's excited, but everyone's also like positive. Everyone's encouraging of each other. Like everyone is there to get better and to help others around them get better. It's just like you don't get that, right? In your day in, day out world, just being surrounded by nothing but growth mindset, positive individuals, like it's just unmatched.
Yep. Yeah. It's, we'll say this probably a few times, but if you haven't been to these kind of events, put it on your list.
Yeah.
If you're a new agent and you're wondering how to get engaged, these events are so much, they're so worth it.
Yep.
They really are.
Yep.
Um, one of the things for me that was just really neat was to get to know all the different vendors.
Yeah.
So for agencies or agents and staff that were there, they had a neat thing that we hadn't seen before. They had a bingo card
Yeah.
that had every vendor on it.
Yep.
And that was kind of neat, not only for us selfishly, because we got to talk to everyone.
Hmm.
But I know as an agency owner, I go to these events. I only usually go to the vendors that I know
Right.
or that I work with. And I sometimes shy away from, walking up to a booth and engaging somebody I don't know. It kind of makes you feel a little uncomfortable.
Hmm.
Are they going to try to sell me something?
Right.
That whole feeling. Um, and this just created, even though some people just came by to get their stamp, at least we got to say hi.
Hmm.
We had some fun giveaways. So everybody got a chance to just, get involved in that.
Yep.
I really like that.
Yeah. Yeah. They used the bingo card, had, every vendor, like Lucas mentioned, was on there. And then the hosts of the event, they came around and gave everybody a stamp before the event started, so that, they had kind of a key, so they knew what stamp Crosshairs had and what stamp everyone else had. They had us, stamp our space so that they had kind of the key card so no one else could fake it, like borrowing someone else's stamp and hitting up a bunch of vendors, right?
Mhm.
So it forced everyone to like authentically go and connect with every vendor and have conversations. So that was really cool. And then they used that card for attendees to turn in, and they used that for raffles. So there's an incentive for the agents and the staff to go around and connect with everyone, and then they turn that card in. And we were down there with the Bartesian that we gave away again. So, but yeah, all the vendors brought great raffles, and so it's engaging for both sides of it, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Shout out to Esther Suggs, who won who won our Bartesian. Hopefully you've gotten it in the mail and have made some cocktails. So
Heck yeah.
we actually made ourselves one.
That's right.
Before we started. Yeah, I think, when I think about some of the relationships that I built with the other vendors, because we're spending that time out in the vendor area between, while everyone's in session, then we're all standing around talking.
Yep.
And I brought home some great connections that I want to use and implement in my office.
Mm-hmm.
And some that I've used for a long time, like Performology.
Yep. Not Shawnee. We missed you.
Yeah, we missed you, Shawnee. Shawnee had sent someone else, and he did a great job, but he's not Shawnee. So hopefully we'll see her next time. For everybody who knows Shawnee, she's the best. And Ben alluded to earlier, just to some future conversations. One of the things we think would be very valuable is to to bring some of these different vendors on to one more round,
Mhm.
and not specifically to sell anything, but just to bring the value that they have. They have so much knowledge with working with so many agents.
Mhm.
They bring a different perspective, an outside perspective.
Mhm.
I just think it's really cool.
Mhm.
Um, just to give a couple of, if you're thinking about who was there, Jared from Filtered Quotes was somebody we got to know
Yep.
really well. Um,
Smart dude.
yeah, I mean, some of these guys, you know, with leads and lead generation, and Ryan from Next Call Club.
Mhm.
I spent a bunch of time talking with him out at the lawn party,
Yep.
and we didn't talk about like generating leads or any of that kind of stuff as far as
Right.
next. It was just he was, talking about training staff and bringing staff on and processes, and I mean, I was kind of overwhelmed almost, but it was
Mhm. And those guys use technology probably better than anyone in the country. I don't know, but in my opinion.
mhm,
And I think Peter, also with Next Call Club, he was one of the stage speakers. And I think talking about utilizing technology within your agency systems. Um, so yeah, I think, and that's Andrew Filar is also with Next Call Club, and an insane agent out of Georgia with Peachy Insurance. Um, so yeah, those guys are awesome. Like,
yeah,
and that's some of the cool, like, they are Next Call Club, which I don't work with, but being able to just like connect with these guys and just even sharing things outside of their own product and just
mhm,
some of their systems and how they implement and how they train. It's like you can gain so much from interacting with these guys. So yeah, he was a stud. Thank you for sharing, Ryan.
yep, yeah, it was great. Well, and right next to our booth, we had Club Capital,
Yeah.
and I think Ben and I both have been to meetings where they've been one of the presenters,
Hmm.
and just kind of blown away by that. Um, they're they do accounting for agencies,
Hmm.
but they've put a spin on it, and they help agencies understand the numbers.
Hmm.
What should you be spending, and what, if you want to grow, how much do you need to spend? What percentage of your revenue?
Hmm.
Things like that really opened my eyes when I saw them. Actually, at the Midwest Forum, I saw them, and
Yeah.
that was so I got to know them a little bit just visiting. But yeah, you know they're somebody that I would love to spend more time
Hmm.
talking to.
Yeah.
And
Anatole and Lauren, I think, were the two that were there.
yep,
From their company. So yeah, it was great to get to know them a little bit and chat with them. I think the way to look at kind of their services is like as you scale and grow your agency, you, you're going to get to a certain point where you need to start to have um, almost like C-level positions, and so that's where Club Capital essentially would operate as like your CFO of your agency, right? Like they're gonna help you understand all the ins and outs of agency finances. One cool thing that they do is they'll kind of maybe not keep you in line, but they can, because they work with so many agencies, and I don't think it's just our carrier specifically. I think they're working with insurance agents across the board.
mhm,
But they have so much data that they can kind of share, agencies in your size. This is kind of the trends of payroll, of marketing, of profit, of whatever, and different models to kind of, see where not really where you shake out or how you rank, but it's just because everyone, like, we're all in different phases, right? Sometimes people are in growth mode and they're trying to get their agencies to scale. There's another phase of the agency, journey where it's, hey, this is to serve me and my family, right? And it's profit mode. Um, and they can help you navigate all those things. So it's, yeah, they're a super cool vendor that I probably should work with myself. I haven't yet to this point, but
mhm,
I'm super impressed with them.
yep, yeah. I think they give you some benchmarks,
Yeah, it's a good
right?
way to put it.
Yeah, not as much of, just gives you a way to compare.
Yep.
Am I spending too much in one place or another, or
Yep.
you know, I'm trying to grow, but I'm taking more money out than I should be.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
Really
kind
just
of,
optimize your agency finances.
yep.
Yep.
Let's see, a couple other people that we, really impressed with. One for sure is Casey Kukert,
Yeah.
and
Brand your agency.
brand your agency. Yep. Casey, if you guys don't know, is just awesome at helping you brand your agency as your agency and not as your carrier or, something else, right? She's going to take it to the next level. And I'll give her, the big shout out. She helped us with our branding,
Mhm.
and she's amazing, right? She helps us with all of our social media.
Mhm.
She's helped us with just our kind of our, like, what we want to present as far as crosshairs. I don't, kind of, a lot of the branding that you've seen, a lot of all of our online stuff, she's creating that. She's
Mhm.
helping us come up with ideas. We do, monthly meetings with her. And she's just amazing as far as building that out. She'll do that for your agency too. So,
Mhm.
helping you, if you're trying to start down the journey of, I want to brand my agency. I want to do some social media. I want to do, I want to have my own logo and my own image, my
Mhm.
own, personality. She's the one. So brand your agency. Um, I can't even speak highly enough. I was in her agency at one time when she was an agent. I remember I used to point people to her Facebook, and there was no Instagram
I didn't
then.
know that.
And
That's cool.
I used to be, like she's always been great at it. And the fact that she's turned it into something to help others, I think is really cool.
Mhm.
So thank you, Casey.
Yep. Thank you.
Yeah. Who else? Some other people that I engaged with. We talked about Justin Slocum,
Yeah.
and so Ben mentioned that he bought 150 tickets and a suite to the game, which was awesome.
Yeah.
Everybody was talking about that the whole weekend. He also showed up with 100, well, there must have been 300 or 400 cowboy hats.
Yeah.
And he had somebody there branding them with your name or a saying.
Yep.
He gave away, I think, the first 100 people that signed up for the event, he gave them a cowboy hat.
Yeah.
And then I think they sold the other 300 cowboy hats, or
Right.
however many they brought. They
Yeah,
sold
it
them
was
all.
cool. Everyone had
And
cowboy hats on throughout the weekend. It was cool.
yep. And they, everybody was buying a cowboy hat. They sold them at very fair
I
prices. It
think
wasn't.
you brought one home, didn't you?
I did. I brought one home. Yep. I've got a cowboy hat. Maybe I should have been wearing that today.
Maybe.
But yeah, it's cool. That was fun.
Mhm.
Created a lot of energy.
Yeah.
We love giving away our hats, and we had a lot of Crosshairs hats floating around. But
For sure.
we
Just
were
a little different.
We were outnumbered by cowboy hats for sure. So
Yeah, it was cool. I
Yep.
would like another vendor that was just a table or two down from us was a company called Trainual, which I actually do work with Trainual. I just started with them a couple months ago, so I can shamelessly give them a plug. That if you don't have something in your agency that really documents really all of your processes and training, just how you basically operations manual, process manual, you can facilitate some HR things through there, just agency handbook. It's a cool platform where you get to go in. It requires some work. I shouldn't say some. It requires a lot of work, but it's so much better that way because it's not a over the counter like hand you this that everyone's using.
Mhm.
It's a platform that allows you to build it for you. So really tailored to how do you want your agency to run, and then you can create documents and upload them and have requirements for your team to go through and read them or test out on them. You can upload videos, whether it's a video that you created yourself or a cool video, inspirational video that you find online that maybe you just want to share as a more Monday morning motivation to your team, and make it mandatory for them to watch it. And then you can have them test out on it to make sure they're engaged with it. Like it's so cool, and it's truly endless of how you can use it. I'm really in the early stages of still getting it implemented, but they were super great to just get to know a little bit. And yeah, like Lucas said, there's a ton of great people there and just great vendors to
Mhm.
just kind of really connect with them and get to know them and spend a little bit more time chatting with them than we really ever have at an event as an agent.
Yeah, I left with a little FOMO. Ben's been doing this Trainual, and I've kind of been just sitting on the sideline watching. And we've all signed up for a lot of things, right, as
Mhm.
agency owners. And so I thought, well, I'm just going to wait and see, kind of thing. And now I'm a little bit feeling like I'm behind the 8 ball, but
Yeah.
I think they're great. And the people that were, that were there, awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Just super easy to talk to and
Mm-hmm.
showing demos, and yeah, it's cool. So check them out if you haven't seen it.
Mm-hmm.
I think we should give a shout out to Matt Ricker
Yeah.
at EverQuote.
EverQuote. I mean, he truly he sponsored that whole private party at the PBR bar, which was it was supposed to be 2 hours. It was much longer.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was awesome, so much fun, and
Mhm.
yeah, EverQuote took care of that and hosted an awesome event. I have worked with him in the past. Great dude. That obviously it's a different avenue of leads than what we do. And that's again going back to just the cool thing about the agency journey is there's 100 ways to win, right? And you get to decide like what really fits your culture, fits your personality, your style. If you're in the lead game, working like web leads, data leads, and you need someone, Matt Ricker with EverQuote's a phenomenal option to consider.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, then there were a ton of other vendors as well, and we could sit here and do a long conversation about that. But these are
Mhm.
just a couple. We kind of want to just give you a taste of what the people. These are just people we engaged with.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, just to encourage you, right? Like, go meet
Mm-hmm.
these people. Um, it's a lot different than when you just get a phone call out of the blue in your office in the middle of the day when
For sure.
we've all been there, right? I mean, the day is crazy, and somebody calls and wants to talk about leads. It's kind of the last thing you want to
Right.
do. But at an event like this, you can truly be open-minded
Mm-hmm.
and think about, hey, am I diversified enough? Am I doing the right things?
Mm-hmm.
What are successful people doing?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, I think it's great. I think the vendor selection seemed really,
It
really
was
good.
great, and it's like you learn just kind of the same way that the agents at an event together, like they're there to help each other. They're not there to compete against each other, right? It's like
Mhm.
it's how do we all rise together. I think the vendors are very similar. Like they're there to collaborate together and help agents win and to network with each other. So it's like, yeah, I think from the vendor side of it, it was the same experience. It was cool.
Yep. Yeah, even the other direct mail guys that are there. I mean, we're
For
all talking
sure.
about, hey, if we don't have an area, we'll send them to you,
Yep.
um, and vice versa. I think it's really cool. It definitely breaks down some walls.
Yeah.
You know.
It's people, man.
Yep.
At the end of the day, it's just great people.
Yep. And we didn't get to go into all the presentations. We got to see some snippets of different things.
Mm-hmm.
Like we mentioned, we got to um, we got more from the presentations after the fact at the meeting after the meeting. Um, and I think to encourage you, if you haven't been to one of these, you've got to go to the meeting after the meeting, right? You've got
Yeah.
to go spend time, you know, whether you want to have a cocktail or a soda water, doesn't matter,
Right.
right? Everybody's just there to hang out and talk and share ideas. And you never know when you need a good connection in another state or somewhere else too.
Yep.
Um, so yeah, some of the, just to highlight some people that were there, um, speaking on stage. I think we'd be remiss to not talk a little bit about some of the people
Yeah.
that we heard about or that we saw. Um, I guess I'll start and just mention Brooke Brolo.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you're on Instagram or on Facebook, you've probably seen Brooke Brolo.
Probably.
Especially if you're in anywhere in the Allstate circles,
Mm-hmm.
you're seeing her stuff. If you're not, you should follow her because she is a great example of what you could be doing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's intimidating because she's
For sure.
like got it to the next level, but there's so many things you can learn.
But and it's she shared this like we got to go into one presentation, but we got in there and Brooke was actually on stage finishing up, so we caught like maybe the last 4 or 5 minutes of her talk. But even in that little 4 or 5 minutes, like I heard her share that like just start, right? Like everyone's gonna feel inadequate. You're gonna feel dumb. You're gonna feel like you don't know what you're doing. And she explained that she didn't either, right? And it wasn't that long ago. Like
Mm-hmm.
I think she said something like just in the last like 3 years that she's gone from like really just like the beginner phases to I think what most all of us would look at as like an expert in that category of marketing.
Yeah, for sure.
So
I think her presentation was called posts to
posts
policies.
to policies. Yeah.
Right? Like Instagram posts to policies.
Yeah.
But she's driving business to her agency by doing those things.
Yeah.
And they're fun captions. They're like, do you have a team driver? Doing some funny, memes about it, or just
Mhm.
little reels and things like that. All these terms are things that are pretty new to me.
Right.
Just learning about like how this all works. But yeah, go follow her.
Totally.
For sure.
Totally.
Yep.
Yep. So yeah, she was one, and none of these others we didn't get to experience them. So we just had a list of some people that presented. But I think Ty Bearden presented on like calculating ROI and like how you like follow the data and measure returns on all the different investments within your agency, and specifically with marketing, which I think would be insanely helpful to sit in on that. Scott and Dee Dee Bisco, a couple of agents down, I think they're in Austin now, but they did a presentation on change and just how change is really like the catalyst to new opportunities, and how we all just need to embrace change and get comfortable with it.
Yeah, I think they said change is an opportunity, not a threat, I think was one of the quotes. There were a lot of quotes and a lot of things that were said and things that I heard through the week that I was just like, oh yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Yep. So they were a good presenter. Brooke, Julie Alvarenga, that one of the hosts, she put together a top producer panel. So I think there were, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 kind of really high producing staff members throughout the country that she brought on stage as a panel, just to kind of share, their day to day, how they operate, and do a Q&A with them. So I thought that was probably insanely valuable for all the team members that were in the room.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Well, and John Larson presented on servant leadership.
Yep.
And it really kind of hit home to me. I thought that was, just some of the stuff that I saw that came out of that was pretty cool.
Yep. I heard some of the other agents saying that he might have been their most, like, they took away more from his presentation than any other one, which that's high praise.
Yeah, that is high praise. Well, I think, I know personally in my agency, I'm always thinking, okay, what can I do something nice for my team? And there's a couple people in there that I know exactly what their passions are and what to do. But then there's a few that I don't know.
Yeah.
And kind of wondering. So he created a favorite things template that he handed out. And I'm sure you can get a copy if you'd like one.
Yep.
Reach out to us if you want a copy. We can send it to you.
Yep.
Favorite things. And he gave it to each staff member. And it was their favorite things. What's their favorite restaurant? What's their favorite coffee drink?
Yep.
What's their favorite, music? I'm trying to think of all the things.
Hobbies, restaurants, shirt size. There was, I actually might have it pulled up.
I thought, shirt size is a cool thing, because you can, how many times have you wanted to surprise your team with something, and then you're having to say, well, hey, what size do you wear?
Yeah, I've got it right here.
Oh,
So places to eat, places to shop, favorite coffee shop, favorite candy, favorite cookie, favorite drink, favorite cupcake, favorite flower, favorite color, a list of hobbies, your birthday, and shirt size. And so many cool things that you can just, at any given time, like you mentioned, like, hey, I want to reward one of my staff members, or hey, we just hit a team goal or set an agency record. Let's just go grab this thing off of their favorite things list and surprise them all with it. Like, what a cool thing to have as a tool.
Yep. I think most of us feel like our teams are our family. That's why it makes it so hard, and why we have to take so many trainings about how to hire and fire, because I think emotionally we get connected, and we care about the people on our teams.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is just a cool tool. I wish I have to go back and try to find the recording and watch the whole thing.
I don't know if they have them. I don't know if there is a recording of the.
Yeah, they sent out the slides, but I don't know if there's any live recordings. maybe I just have to call John and have
There
him
you go.
take me through it.
Or yeah, that's kind of like what Lucas had mentioned, that our thought was, gosh, we got access to a lot of these presentations and the slides that they shared, which thank you for doing that. That was cool. But man, how cool would it be to be able to kind of one-on-one rehear that from the source, right? So that's going to be our, as we move forward, we're planning out bringing some of these people back to just sit down and do a recorded conversation with us for one more round. And I think that you guys are going to pull tons of value from it, and it'll be something that you can go back to over and over and over.
Yep. Yeah, I think it'd be great.
Yep.
Well, and then at the end of, I guess let's see. So it would have been at the end of Thursday, right? So the first day of meetings, we had stepped in. Brooke Brolo was still speaking,
Oh yeah.
and then they brought up the keynote speaker. And if you've ever been to any Allstate events, especially if it's put on by a corporate, there's always a keynote, and they're great. I mean, we've seen some amazing Magic Johnson and different people that have been.
That was before my time.
That was before your time?
I was probably still working in an agency at that time. I wasn't in that room.
Yeah. I mean, there's been some cool keynote speakers over the years. But I don't know. This one was, for me, so the keynote speaker was Rob O'Neill. And if you're not familiar with Rob O'Neill, he is a Navy SEAL. He was a SEAL Team 6 member. He was involved in a couple of big missions that have made movies out of. Captain Phillips with the pirates in Somalia. He was part of the rescue team for not Black Hawk Down, but Lone Survivor. Marcus Luttrell. He was in that, involved in that. And then what he's really known for was he was the Navy SEAL that walked into the room where Osama bin Laden was, and he's the one that killed Osama bin Laden.
Which Zero Dark 30 is also a movie made about that story, which is phenomenal.
Yep. And so, but he was able to just translate, the SEAL team life and the SEAL team training to real life to connect with you. It wasn't just about, hey, I'm the guy that killed Osama bin Laden. Because I thought, you could really easily just kind of be that, right?
Right.
And so he just kind of laid down a lot of lessons that he learned through the SEAL teams and mostly through the early trainings of the SEAL teams, right? The stuff you go through and how much it relates to real life. I thought it was awesome.
It was awesome. Yeah, he shared just like breaking that down of like, I think all of us look at Navy SEALs as like a different breed. I don't know, like are they even human? Like how do they endure and keep going, and how do they perform at such high levels and never seem to make mistakes and never seem to quit, right? But they're human, right? And he broke it down where it's like, we don't think about the big picture, right? Like we break it down to small tasks. I think and I'm going to butcher this, but he said something about like, the first objective every day is get to breakfast, right?
Yep.
And there's like get up and start with 3 wins, right? Like make your bed, brush your teeth, and show up on time.
Yep. Yeah, I remembered it as make your bed, brush your teeth, get to breakfast.
Get to breakfast.
And then he said, those are your first 3 wins, right? And
yeah. Now you've got momentum, right? Now you're on a winning streak.
Yep. And tonight, when you get done with this really crappy day, you've got a made bed to get back into.
Yep.
That was cool. And then he was, like, so my favorite part, and he kind of tied it into that whole thing was, get your 3 wins, right? So it's, make your bed, brush your teeth, get to breakfast. Then he said, then your next goal,
make
get
it
to
lunch. Yep.
Next goal,
make it to dinner.
And then my favorite part of his whole thing was quit tomorrow.
Yep. And he said, because you're always going to have moments, probably first thing in the morning, probably between breakfast and lunch, probably multiple times between lunch and dinner. There's like, that's the whole point of buds, right? Is they're trying to get you to quit, right?
Yep.
They just want to weed out people that won't endure.
Yep.
And so he said, you're always going to have thought. Like, he's like, all the guys on the teams, they all think about quitting. Like it's natural, right? But he said that they've trained themselves to say, you know what? it's okay to quit. Just quit tomorrow.
Right. Quit tomorrow.
And then you wake up the next day, get those 3 wins, get to lunch, get to dinner, and then that whole day you're thinking, hey, if I'm going to quit, that's okay. Just quit tomorrow.
Yep.
It's awesome.
Yeah. There was just a lot of inspiring pieces to that conversation, like just the things he brought to the table. One of the things for me personally, he talked about stress and how we carry all of these stresses and these anxieties. And he talked about part of that mission. He kept linking in the mission to go, for Osama bin Laden. And they were really concerned that they were going to die
Sure.
because they had to fly 80 minutes into Syria, I believe. And they knew that the Syrians had F-16s and all these things, and we weren't supposed to be there.
Mhm.
So he kind of said, any minute a missile could have killed us. And we all really thought it was going to, but we also knew that it didn't do any good to worry
Yeah,
about.
they have no control over it.
Yep.
Something that's outside of your control.
He's like, so, yep, it could happen, and we all knew it, and we kind of talked about it, but we also knew that there's nothing we could do to control it.
Mm-hmm.
But he talked about the stresses that we carry around in life, and he talked about it's like a bag of bricks
Mm-hmm.
weighing you down all the time because you're carrying around every morning. You get up, you put this bag of bricks over your shoulder, you carry it around, and so for me personally, I had just gone at my agency. I had just had to let somebody go, like the week before Texas Leaders Forum, and I was just carrying that bag of bricks. It was somebody that cared about. It was somebody that it was the right thing for my team. It was the right, it was the right thing for our agency, but it
still sucks.
It was so heavy.
Yeah.
And when he said, put the bag of bricks down, it was that simple.
Right.
And I was just like, just set the bag of bricks down. And the rest of the week, I was just like, I felt very freed from that.
Yeah. That's
just
awesome.
like, hey, so these are the kind of things you take from, these kind of speakers when they come and they bring, they're talking about stuff that's way more difficult than what we deal with every day. I mean,
yeah,
they're talking about life and death
Yep.
and losing friends. And I mean, when you put it in perspective, that rough phone call that you had with a customer or, put the bag of bricks down.
Yep.
So
make the call, quit tomorrow.
Make the call. Quit. Yep.
Yeah. There was one of my kind of takeaways from his presentation that we got to sit in on was complacency kills, right? Like he had mentioned complacency kills, which I think that we've probably all heard a variation of that, right? And that's, I think, why, like he put it in the context of operating within the teams. Like you can never get complacent because literally in their world, it'll kill you, right? Like, so you've got to be on all the time and focused and, just hard at work, taking care of the guy to your left and the guy to your right. But he had another saying that went along with that to me was like, whoa. And he said, success breeds complacency, which really then can be success kills, right? Like success creates complacency, complacency kills. And he's just like, you get on a winning streak and, whether it's in our world of like, hey, we're growing, things are going smooth. That's where it's like, yeah, you can get complacent in that environment and that will lead to failure. So to me, it was like, gosh, just kind of hits you in the moment of like success creates complacency, complacency kills. Like, don't take it for granted, keep working to improve, keep tweaking, keep optimizing. Cause yeah, you don't think of the ones that are winning are the vulnerable ones, right?
Right. And it gets, when things are going great, right, you get lax on your procedures, you get lax on your, because things are going well,
right?
And you're just kind of you let your guard down,
yeah,
and you're not, and that's the thing, and that's goes back to when things are good, you should be, really focused,
right?
But I think human nature is, hey, things are good,
yeah,
I don't have to be as focused,
yeah,
and so in an agency, that's, I think, yeah, that was something that I thought was pretty powerful.
Yep. And I think it ties into like just kind of bringing it back to the forum itself. Like that is what the forum was, right? It was full of agents that are killing it. Like all the attendees are there because they're invested, because they're winning and they want to grow more. They want to maximize the opportunity. Those are a bunch of successful agents that are not getting complacent, right? Like they're there to get better. Like,
Mhm.
hey, I'm doing really well. We've grown, we're hitting goals, but how do we improve? How do
Yep.
we get better?
Well, and I think even when you're successful, going to something like this keeps you, it's a
Yeah.
check, right? It's
Yeah.
like, because I think even the most successful agents have we're all human. And so
Sure.
we all have the tendency to be complacent. But it's cool to be around people who acknowledge I can get better.
Yep.
I want to get better. I want to learn. I can learn new things.
Mm-hmm.
There's agents that have been doing this for a long time
Yep.
and that have been doing, been very successful, but they're still there listening to these different speakers um, and they're taking something home every time
Yeah.
they go.
Yep.
So,
No, I think that was, yeah, it was a phenomenal event. Again, as a kind of a recap for any agents that weren't there, fix that next year for sure. Like it's an event that you will, without question, come back better for. You'll learn, and it will lead to growth. So I think if you're looking at what can I do to get better, whether that's digging out of a rut that you found yourself in that you want to change, whether that's you know scaling to the next level, or whether that's, hey, we're as good as we've ever been right now, but we don't want to get complacent. We want to keep investing and growing. Find your way to the Texas Leaders Forum. It was such a good event. We were so grateful to be a part of it. And we'll be there we'll be back there for sure next year.
yep. And I do think they're going to expand it.
Yeah.
Make it bigger. So there'll be more room. But the minute you see an invite, you should be signing up.
Yep.
I think it's don't be left out.
Nope.
So
Nope. That would be a mistake. So
Yep.
yeah. So and keep your eyes out for one more round. We're going to bring some of these resources that we saw at the forum, and we're going to bring them to you on a one-on-one format that we think will bring a ton of value. We know we're going to get value from it, and we hope that you will as well. And I would say just one more thank you to the hosts of the forum. So Mike Daniels, Laura Harris, Kristen Maxwell, and Julie
Julie,
Alvarenga. Thank you for allowing Crosshairs to be there. We loved it. We can't wait to be there next year. And yeah, we'll see you guys all over the next couple months with one more round. So cheers.